Hello, my name is Justin the Clue, and I'm here today with
Shocktober at the Important Cinema Club. How?
Will sealing my ooh, which means I have to go because I'm Frankenstein's monster.
That is generic witch. You all love generic witch, right?
The Republicans have won the presidency.
Is that
The Democrats have won the presidency.
Is that when this is dropping? We're recording this a bit in advance. Do they know yet? Do they know who won?
No, this will be dropping a week from when we're recording it.
Okay.
So yeah, we won't know until then. I expect everybody to be November 5th at the Fox Cinema watching Fantasy Mission Force.
That's right. We have a screening coming up at the Fox Theater in Toronto. Jackie Chan in Fantasy Mission Force.
On Election Day.
It's so cool. And wouldn't you rather be watching that than like thinking about Michigan? I don't know. Come on out.
But, before that, we got to talk about the Frankenstein movies. During Shocktober, we like to do franchises, and Will was like, what about the Frankenstein films? And by that, I don't mean Frankenstein, Bride of Frank. We've talked about those. We did an episode on James Whale.
Although I do feel like inevitably we are going to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, they're better than the movies we watched this week.
Yeah, and I mean the movies that we're going to be talking about today, because they are the later movies in the franchise, because they followed the examples of the first two James Whale films, inevitably they sort of refract and reflect, and I don't know what word I'm looking for.
They do much less than the previous films have done and try to give the bare minimum to pass as what they're selling.
And if anything, they sort of illuminate what was great about the first two movies. But you know what? Maybe the first two movies will illuminate what's great about these.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Maybe these movies are better than the first two. Maybe they are refining the kind of, a rough material that James Whale was working with.
You're right. They're shorter.
Yes.
Some of them.
Well, not the first one we're going to talk about.
Well, what I first want to say is I kind of love all these movies, even the ones I don't like very much, because the Frankenstein movies, the Universal Frankenstein movies, they created the image of what a horror movie looks like for me, which I can explain that. I was a child and I wanted to watch a horror movie. I was too scared to watch anything that was actually scary. And so I said to my mom, can you get me a Frankenstein movie that's not too scary? And so she went to the horror section where I was too scared to go.
Yeah. There's puppet masters looking at you, reaching out.
And actually, I think even before that, I saw Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Now, how did you feel about that?
Loved it.
Okay, so you weren't scared. There's some scary parts in that movie.
There are scary parts. Yeah. But I still remember seeing it for the first time. I remember my dad saying, oh, you should see Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. You'd like that. You'll like Lou. And they rented it for me, and it worked me up so much that I had to go outside and run around.
You remember that?
I was 6 years old. I still remember running around.
Were you doing like bits or stuff like that? Or you're just like, oh my God, and then this happened, and then this happened?
I think I was doing bits. I think I was pretending to be Frankenstein. I just had to run around.
So the thing about Frankenstein's monster, though, is that he is culturally baked in to everybody, because you know what he looks like. That if you're talking about Halloween or other stuff like that, the iconography of the flat top Frankenstein, which they should not be allowed to do because that's Universal property, is everywhere.
Yeah,
we'll get into this.
And it's not just the makeup, it's the whole ambiance of those first two James Whale movies. It's in the first movie when you see like that graveyard in the opening scene, the sort of neo-expressionist, they kind of imported some of what had been happening in Germany and presented a slightly more watered down version in America. The fog, the crooked crosses, the big bell towers where lightning was striking things, the lab equipment, it's alive, all that. Like, that's the iconography of American
But you even
horror.
know that before you watch the movie too.
100%. You watch, I don't know, frickin' Sesame Street and you
get it. Yeah. So, like I said, we're not talking about the first two because we're jumping right to 1939, Son of Frankenstein. Now, this is a funny film. Mel Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
All that expressionist stuff that you were talking about.
Wrong. It's not a Mel Brooks
What?
movie. No, it's 1939, and some important context here. So the first Frankenstein by James Whale comes out in 1931.
People are running out of the theater. It's so scary.
Yeah. As the man in the movie who comes out in front of the curtain at the beginning says, I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you.
Ugh, Marge Simpson, by saying this, that means I can't watch the Simpson Halloween special.
So that and Dracula, released, 7 or 8 months before, inaugurated the cycle of Universal horror movies that we recognize as the first golden age.
But you're like, wait, how does Son of Frankenstein come out in 1939? Well, there was a re-release of Dracula and Frankenstein.
That's right. So Frankenstein in 1931 sets the template. Bride of Frankenstein in 1935 perfects it. That's James Whale's Gremlins 2. That's the one where he
can do basically whatever he wants.
Yeah, and he takes it in bold and strange new directions that I think we'll talk about in a little bit, comparing it to Son of Frankenstein. But what happened in 1936 was, it seems that Britain banned horror movies. Now, that's a statement that needs to have a big asterisk, because if you look up the British horror ban, you will find lots of scholarly articles saying, actually, there was no British horror ban. It was all misinformation. But what you need to know is, it was thought that there was a British horror ban. And so Hollywood studios said, okay,
no more horror movies.
No more horror movies.
But the thing about Hollywood studios is they never liked making horror movies.
That's right.
They always found it to be like an unsightly thing, like the cheap, we're playing to the cheap seats.
Carl Laemmle, the head of Universal, greenlit Dracula and Frankenstein basically because his nephew, Carl
Laemmle Jr., isn't it?
His son.
Yeah, his son.
Carl Laemmle Jr.
Maybe his nephew's also named Carl Laemmle Jr.
This is a very rigorous podcast, as you can tell. But he basically said they're for Junior. He likes those. But
let me make these big bloated melodramas that no one's watching anymore.
That's right. 1936 to 1938 was a bad time to be Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi. Karloff goes over to Monogram and makes the Mr. Wong detective films.
Monogram is a step up, right, from Universal?
Yeah, not so much.
Not so much.
But then in 1938, there's a very successful national theatrical re-release of Dracula and Frankenstein. It's a huge hit, and Universal
Bela's
says,
like, oh man, time for some in-person appearances.
Universal says, let's get back in the saddle. So Son of Frankenstein is the third in the series. It's a direct sequel to Bride of Frankenstein, but set 30 years later. And it's the inauguration of this silver age of Universal horror movies that lasted from 1939 to 1948. But it is also the last A movie.
Yeah, so it costs a lot of money, has an auteur behind the scenes.
Oh, an auteur?
Well, he wrote and directed it.
Rowland V. Lee.
Oh, is he credited as writing it? I think the other guy is, but they said they threw his script out and only used characters.
Yeah, he did a lot. Rowland V. Lee did a lot behind the scenes, including he dramatically expanded Bela Lugosi's role.
Yeah, and when interviewed about the film, Rowland V. Lee likes to say it's like, yeah, no one cares about Frankenstein's monster. It's all about Igor in the film.
Which is true in this
absolutely,
film.
Yeah.
So Son of Frankenstein, again, takes place decades after Bride of Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein, who you all know and love, is dead. And in fact, the actor who played him, Colin Clive, is also passed away at this point. But in his place comes Basil Rathbone as Frankenstein Jr. And for years, he's been terrorized by the association of his name with the Mad Doctor and his monsters. These monsters that killed people all over the countryside. He arrives in Frankenstein land.
Yeah, Frankenstein.
In the unnamed country that is sort of Germanic and also sort of British and maybe a little bit of France as well.
Let's talk about the best thing of this movie is the sets. They're amazing looking.
Yes, the received wisdom about this movie is correct. The sets are really good.
Yes.
So he arrives in Frankenstein land and he gets a very chilly welcome from the townspeople. All the townspeople are at the train station when he comes.
Yeah, they're waiting for him.
And they're like, can we please light our pitchforks? Please.
We love it. And then Frankenstein Jr. goes, don't worry, Frankenstein's monster won't be doing anything for 90 minutes, roughly.
And also, my dad was a really good guy.
Yeah.
Stop being mean about my dad. And there's a chief inspector there who, if you've seen Young Frankenstein, Young Frankenstein, the Kenneth Mars character in that is a direct copy of this character. He's got like an artificial arm because when he was a boy, the Frankenstein monster tore off his arm.
Did that happen in the original Frankenstein?
No, it happens off screen.
Yeah. Frankenstein is having wild and wacky adventures that we don't talk about.
And this is something that I love about these Frankenstein sequels. It's like with each new one, it's like, let's go see Dr. Frankenstein's other son.
Oh, there's so many sons in these movies.
We've never heard about until now.
Let's talk about Igor. Bela Lugosi's in this movie, steals the show. You know Igor, Dr. Frankenstein, but this is one of those trivia that everybody who likes horror films know. There's no Igor in the first Frankenstein. It's your favorite, Fritz.
We love Fritz. Fritz is a little freak, and he gets killed unceremoniously in the first one.
But when you're talking about like the hunchback, the assistant, you're thinking of Bela Lugosi's Igor.
Yeah.
And he's so good in this movie.
I mean, yeah, he's fantastic.
I would say he's almost not unrecognizable, but he's playing different kind of tonalities that you associate with Bela Lugosi.
Well, it's a shame that he didn't get more good roles like this because most of his other roles are sort of...
Be Bela. Be kind of a version of Dracula.
Yeah, he's either a version of Dracula or he's the butler.
Yeah.
There are a million movies, especially in the 1940s, where he's just like a red herring. And it's too bad because this character where he gets to like really put on makeup and like put on a show.
Has teeth and his neck because he was hung, but he didn't die.
It shows the full range of Lugosi's talent because, you know, it's a character that can toggle between being pathetic and being menacing and being sort of funny, often within the same scene. And it also, like, I think one of the reasons why Lugosi didn't have the career that he should have had was because, you know, with his Hungarian accent, they didn't really know what to do with him. And he was such a theatrical actor, you know, he was very big a lot of the time. But if he had more character roles like this,
yes, that he can, again, he gets to play like sad, that you feel bad for him, and that like he wants to be friend with the Frankenstein monster.
And it's a character that plays into Lugosi's weirdness, you know, his otherworldly quality as an actor.
Now, when I talk about this movie, which I've watched probably 4 or 5 times at this point, I always go into it and I'm like, oh wow, this looks great.
Look at these sets.
Yeah. Oh man, I love furry coat Frankenstein.
Yeah.
With his like little fuzzy coat when they find him. Very funny. I mean, he's back. Boris Karloff is playing the monster once again.
For the last time, because after this point, he apparently said he thought that the monster was becoming a bit of a gimmick. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Frankly, I think it was probably that he was tired of putting the makeup on.
I think he said that too, that the makeup was way too heavy on him. And I will say, though, most of the movie is just Boris Karloff laying on a slab.
That's right. And when you watch it after Bride of Frankenstein, like Bride of Frankenstein does a lot of really interesting things with the monster.
It's got so many ideas, too, that it can explore.
Well, the first Frankenstein, I think it was a bad idea, as iconic as it was, that they give the monster an abnormal brain.
Hate that. Really don't like that element of it. It's not present in the original Frankenstein.
The book,
the book, and I feel that abnormal brain thing is something that has continued in pop culture because the Universal horror movie does it.
And it's too bad because if you just cut that scene out of the original Frankenstein, it would actually work better because what is Dr. Frankenstein? He's somebody who created a monster and then didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
He's a guy who adopted a puppy during the pandemic and then didn't want to raise it.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
Adopted a little teacup pig and it grew into a gigantic like pig that I don't know. It's giant. It's destructive. It can't control itself because it basically has a mind that hasn't developed like it should be.
In a body that it doesn't understand. Yeah. So like in the first Frankenstein, I think Karloff understands this much more than whoever wrote the film because he plays the Frankenstein monster like a combination of a small child and a dog, you know, like that first shot where you see him and the rafters open and he sees the sunlight and he tries to grab it. Or when he's playing with the little girl by the lake.
Frankenstein's monster is rarely portrayed as like a antagonist that's like mean or wants to destroy stuff on purpose. That he's always most interesting as someone who doesn't understand what's going on and any harm that he may cause is due to just him not understanding his own strengths or what he's doing.
So in Bride of Frankenstein, you know, James Whale basically ignored the abnormal brain thing, made it a movie about the Frankenstein monster trying to like, well, the whole scene with the blind hermit, you know, friend, good.
Yeah.
All of that is really beautiful. But then in this third movie, he just becomes a hulking brute again. And they talk about the abnormal brain a lot.
I mean, he does have a fun scene where he looks at himself in the mirror and he's like, and he smashes it. But another issue with this film is that there's just no new ideas that it's doing with any of this. It's another Frankenstein who's bringing another monster to life for reasons.
Yeah, well, because he's like, you know, wouldn't it be, well, so the thing that kicks it off is that he meets Igor and Igor says, please revive my friend who's there. My friend helps me with things. And Frankenstein Jr. starts to kind of get it in his head. Boy, wouldn't it be great to harness the power that my father did, etc. That's every Frankenstein sequel.
I love that at this point, they're like, we don't need a big scene of him coming to life. It'll happen when Frankenstein's out of the room.
Yeah.
So the Frankenstein's monster can just put his hand on Dr. Frankenstein's shoulder.
I do like this movie overall. I will say the midsection drags a little bit.
Yes.
I think there's always something cool to look at with the sets, like the Caligari type sets they have. I like all the people in the movie. You got Basil Rathbone, you got George Zucco, you got Bela Lugosi, and every now and then Boris Karloff.
Very rarely.
Not enough. And again, he's not exploring the layers of the character that he did.
Well, no, he can't because he's got nothing to do in this movie.
And it's too bad. I am compelled enough by the drama of Frankenstein Jr., him getting caught, trying to disavow his father's legacy while also getting caught up in it.
I'm more of a Frankenstein Jr. kind of guy, like we see in the next movie.
I also like Young Frankenstein better than this.
Yes, which it does a lot of the same beats.
But every time I watch this movie, I am, by around the 50-minute mark, a little bit disappointed because it starts so strong.
It starts very strong.
And it ends strong.
Yeah, I mean, stronger than the other movies we're going to be talking about for this episode. I would like a figure of Frankenstein in a little fuzzy coat. Because I love that look.
Yeah.
They never really brought him back that way.
It's too bad.
He's usually in like the black shirt. And after,
it's cold down there.
Yeah. He's in the cave. So next movie, Universal's like, all right, we actually went way over budget on The Son of Frankenstein. It got good reviews. But what if we lowered our budget, hired a hack, and did it closer to an hour for the next couple of movies?
Now, you say hack. Director Earl C. Kenton is best known for having directed the masterpiece Island of Lost Souls.
Great movie.
One of the greatest horror movies of all time. And he also directed one of my favorite Abbott and Costello movies, Who Done It?
You know what? I'm adding this one to the list because you were showing me photos from it. And I was like, this looks great.
You got to watch Who Done It. It might be number 2 after Meet Frankenstein for me. And then he also directed 150 other movies that you've never heard of.
Let's see. Okay, the House movies, and if I had to take a guess, is it going to be the other Universal horror film that he directed that's going to be right at the top? Yep, The Cat Creeps.
So when you look at his Letterboxd, and this is the same for every hack of his generation. Number 1, the most popular movies on Letterboxd are the horror movies. Then it's Abbott and Costello. Then it's W.C. Fields. Then if they made a Bowery Boys movie, it's that. And then after that, a million Westerns.
Yep.
Just the whole gray matter of Western. Actually, sorry, I'm looking at Earl C. Kenton's...
He didn't direct that many Westerns.
I'm looking at Earl C. Kenton's filmography here. Listen to some of these titles. The Palm Beach Girl.
The Best Man Wins.
Companionate Marriage. Flying Cadets.
Wait, you weren't joking because what's this? The Little Tough Guys movie, Little Tough Guys in Society.
That's right. That's a Bowery Boys adjacent franchise.
Yep. In the Bowery Boys verse, if you will.
The extended Bowery Boys universe. Yeah, that's right. But Ghost of Frankenstein inaugurated this cycle of Frankenstein B movies, along with a lot of the other Universal. I mean, we call them Universal horror movies. They're lumped in with the Universal horror movies. But through the 40s, there were a lot of Universal horror movies that are sort of, 60-minute old dark house mysteries, like The Black Cat. The second Black Cat. Not the Ulmer.
No. I really enjoy that, when you look into franchises of this era, remember they keep putting out those franchise box sets of, Frankenstein, Dracula, and it's The Wolfman. And every time, I'm always like, The Wolfman? What Wolfman movies are there? And you look at the back of the box, The Wolfman. She-Wolf of London. It's wait a minute.
That's right.
The one that... Is it just the Werewolf of London?
Werewolf of London.
Which
That's
is just a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde story more than anything else.
What I hate about those Universal Blu-ray sets where they do the monster by monster is they put Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein and House of Frankenstein on all of them. And so it's by the end, if you want all these movies, you'll have bought Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein 10 times.
Now, I will say I was disgusted that I was very excited this week to pull off my Frankenstein Blu-ray off the shelf and be like, I can't wait for these Tom Weaver commentary tracks on the films where, wait a minute, none of them have them. None of the movies that we're talking about this week have commentary tracks.
That's right. No extras.
No extras at all. That's how much respect these movies get.
So Ghost of Frankenstein, it's a direct, immediate sequel to Son of Frankenstein. Igor is now sort of a hunchback. He no longer seems to have had his neck broken. He's just a weird little guy.
Yeah. Lugosi's like, I will not do that anymore.
There's a general sense in Ghost of Frankenstein of everyone's trying a little less hard.
I mean, it starts as a movie. It's like, hey, look, that's Frankenstein's monster. Just walking around in the daytime. The villagers kind of look at him. He's like, yeah, there he is.
It's so it's so brightly lit.
Yep.
You know, the sets when we get to, so the plot is that Igor and the Frankenstein monster, listen, they've been run out of Frankenstein land.
Yeah.
That nobody likes them there. So they're like, okay, we got to go to the next town. Hey,
just walking through the streets.
I think there's another Frankenstein son.
Yeah.
There's another one somewhere.
So I love to imagine in the Universal writing room, like, what's the next one about? I don't know. Another Frankenstein son, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come up with something better later. And they never did.
So yeah, they go to another town where, and the Frankenstein monster is played by Lon Chaney Jr. in this movie, who does a serviceable job.
Yeah, he's
but no
fine.
better.
No.
Yeah, and he's just a big galoot.
Yep, walking around.
He's not even that big.
His
honestly.
eyes are closed the entire time.
You know, he's exactly what you would think if, like, let's say you went to, I don't know, Disneyland at Halloween or something, and there was a guy dressed as the Frankenstein monster.
And I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here? You're a Universal creation. You get on your side.
And Disney would say, we own everything. We own everything.
You know what? You got me.
That's right.
So Ghost of Frankenstein, here's what I'll say about it.
Well, do we want to say
68 minutes.
Yeah, that's what's good about it. Do we want to say anything more about the plot? You know the plot. It's like they go to the other Frankenstein son's house, and he's like, "Oh, I could never do that. Oh, what if I did that?"
Yep.
You know.
But it just builds to like that they switch Igor's brain into Frankenstein's body, and what a physical transformation it does on Frankenstein.
I love it because you've got the Lon Chaney monster talking with Bela Lugosi's voice. Igor, we live forever. But it all backfires and
very quickly. Like I'm looking at the time, like you guys got like 2 minutes to wrap this bad boy up.
So these Universal horror movies in this cycle, they're kind of like the Marx Brothers movies, where you come for your guys, you come for your boys, the guys you like, and then there are all these like long scenes in between the boys of like the normal people. It's like drawing room scenes of people standing by their grand
talking.
pianos being like, oh, but my father's legacy, oh dear, you can't do this.
What do you want from a Frankenstein movie? Like if we teleported you, you're a studio executive, and you were like, what do the kids want out of a Frankenstein picture? Scares, suspense sequence, anything. Like,
well, I think I like eccentric characters. You look at the first Frankenstein movie, and actually the first two Frankenstein movies, you've got two great eccentric characters in them. Dr. Frankenstein, this tortured soul, brilliantly played by Colin Clive, like in a full-on proto-Nicolas Cage performance. And I mean, those first two movies are subtextually rich because obviously James Whale thinks that Dr. Frankenstein is gay.
Yes.
And the whole thing in the second one when Dr. Pretorius comes and is like, "Ooh, I see you're getting married. Haven't you forgotten about me, Dr. Pretorius? And all the things we used to do, like make monsters."
I'm the president of Universal Studios, though. I don't want none of that subtext. Just give the goods.
Well, okay, even if you're forgetting about subtext, Dr. Frankenstein is a tortured, cool character. The monster, like, let's spend some time with the monster, the tragedy of the monster. I think by the time you get to Ghost of Frankenstein, the monster's tragic dimensions, his humanity, there's no interest in it.
Well, there's a little fun sequence where he meets a bunch of children and a balloon goes on a roof and he goes up and people are like, he's going to kill the girl. But of course, Frankenstein's monster just goes and takes the balloon down.
The relationship between the monster and the little girl, that is a sort of like motif throughout the movie. I do like that. It's an interesting evolution of the character because we all remember the first movie when he throws the girl in the lake. You think, oh, is he going to kill this girl too? No, he's come to sort of understand.
I'm going to say Frankenstein innocent in that throwing. That girl should have swam.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're glad we could settle that.
Innocent.
But Ghost of Frankenstein still has Bela Lugosi as Igor. And listen, it's not as meticulous a performance as in the previous movie, but he's still a fun little guy. He's still a little scene stealer.
Yeah.
Your father was Frankenstein, but your mother was the lightning.
And his whole game in this movie is him going like, but I want my brain in Frankenstein's body so we could be together forever.
And he gets to have a big, cool body.
Yeah. I want to break down like, if your brain goes in a monster's body, I don't think the person you like is there anymore.
That's right. And also, would that body speak in your voice?
Yes.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Maybe you learn it, right? So your brain is the one that's going to your vocal cords and making the...
Now it's time for How Did This Get Made?
We're roasting the Ghost of Frankenstein.
And Earl C. Kenton, if he were here, instead of being dead, you know what he'd say? He'd say, I know, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. Is my paycheck cleared? Yep. All right. What's the next Frankenstein movie you want me to make?
Well, The next movie that was made was Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, you know?
Yep. One of the great directors, according to people like Leonard Maltin, very like fluid and always trying to find interesting things to do.
That's right. Roy William Neill, who did a lot of the Sherlock Holmes movies and is regarded as a kind of vulgar auteur of the Universal B movie circuit.
But listen, all of you who are listening to this, you've seen Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. It can only disappoint.
Yeah, I mean...
Hey, how's it going, Wolfman? Hey, how's it going, Frankenstein? There, they met. That's what the movie is.
They don't do a lot together. I mean, it's more of a Wolfman movie. And do you like Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman?
I love Lon Chaney Jr.
So do I.
Wolfman. I find that which is so funny that there's no other... Why was there no other Wolfman movies?
Yeah, there was just the first one.
And then he appeared in the other pictures.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, Lon Chaney Jr. sometimes gets a bad rap these days because they basically faded out Lugosi and gave all the good roles to Lon Chaney Jr. at this point. So some people hold that against him. Also, he's not like, he's more of a melodramatic 1940s style actor than the sort of gargoyle characters that Lugosi and Karloff and Lon Chaney Sr. would play. But
I love seeing Lon Chaney Jr. on screen.
He's so sad.
Yeah.
He's so
drunk.
So drunk. And as he got older and older and drunker and more bloated, it added more pathos to him.
Not until his final performance in
Dracula versus Frankenstein, the Al Adamson picture.
Finally giving us what we want.
Where the famous behind the scenes story on that is that he was in his dressing room with J. Carrol Naish and he kept saying, "I want to die."
Yeah, and then J. Carrol Naish was like, "Shut up."
Just laughing at a man's misfortune. It's so good. So Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, it has good things in it. I didn't rewatch it for this, but Maria Uspenskaya as the old gypsy lady is terrific. The movie's 72 minutes long, which is also good. The Wolfman story has a lot of pathos, but it can only disappoint because
there's barely any Frankenstein in it.
And he's played in that by Bela Lugosi in one of the classics.
All right, let's get the whole book of trivia out. Why is he doing what he's doing, Will?
Okay, so everyone who sees Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman looks at Lugosi as the monster and says, "Why is he so bad?
Why does he have his arms out the entire time, being like, oh?"
Why is he like everybody's bad impression of the Frankenstein monster? Well, the reason is, in the original cut of the movie, Igor was in his body, and he spoke with Igor's voice, and he was blind. So that's why
How did he get blinded? Does he get blinded at the end of Ghost of Frankenstein?
I don't know if that was in there, but he's blind. And then when they test screened the movie, they said, let's cut all that out and just make him silent. So his performance no longer...
classic Frankenstein, though. They're like...
No longer made sense. And that basically killed his career at Universal, which is too bad. He didn't get any more jobs at Universal after this until Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Because listen, we got a new dynamo to play Frankenstein. Get me Glenn Strange.
So I love Glenn Strange. And we also, the last movie we watched for this episode is House of Frankenstein.
And people may be like, whoa, the last movie you watched was House of Frankenstein, but House of Dracula follows
We've seen them all. I've seen them all many times.
You know what? I don't think I've seen House of Frankenstein.
You know what?
You've seen this.
Yeah. And this is a classic of like, I've logged it 3 times on Letterboxd.
And you'll log it again?
And I'll just be like, like I have Alzheimer's. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that since I was a kid. No, I've seen it many times since I was a kid. Because imagine this. Imagine you've got...
Wait, I'm watching, the ads.
You got 5 monsters.
5 monsters. Okay, you got Frankenstein, you got Dracula, you got the Wolfman, and you got...
Hunchback.
Oh, yeah.
You got Mad Doctor.
Now, I will say Mad Doctor played by Boris Karloff.
That's right. So it's kind of like 3.5 monsters. Get that Hunchback out of there. He's not...
unless he's Igor, played by Bela Lugosi.
Unless he's Igor, but no, it's Hunchback, played by J. Carrol Naish, who is sort of... Hunchback is kind of the emotional core of this movie. He's the one that he's hoping that the mad scientist played by Boris Karloff will like cure him of his afflictions. But the biggest problem with House of Frankenstein is you hear all those monsters and you think, oh, they're all going to be together. No. They're going to be doing the monster mash. They're going to be fucking and sucking. It's going to be great.
You mean the monster fuck.
That's right. But no, the first third of the movie is kind of a Dracula movie.
Yeah, it's like as if you're like, did I land on the wrong channel? Why is there a John Carradine Dracula movie playing?
And why is Dracula John Carradine now? What, did you lose Bela's number? Anyway, I like John Carradine.
I like John Carradine too.
I like him as Dracula. I like the suave dignity that he brings to the role. But
this is basically like a monster TV show that it's like, I bought this at McDonald's. It's 2 episodes edited together.
Yeah, that's right. And after Dracula dies, he meets the Wolfman.
And he's not coming back. Dracula ain't coming back in this movie. He's done. He's dead. 25 minutes into the film.
That's right. And the Wolfman is like, why didn't you just let me die? Do you know that when the full moon comes out, I become a wolf?
Yeah, so we didn't mention Boris Karloff's mad scientist is looking for Frankenstein's papers. Mm-hmm. And so first he goes to see Dracula, and Dracula's like, I don't have them. Then he goes and finds the ice where Frankenstein and the Wolfman were frozen in.
Frankenstein is the name of the doctor. That's fine. We'll just call him Frankenstein.
I have here an addition to the book where as the monster is floating away, he goes, it's okay to call me Frankenstein's monster. That's a joke that was recently going around again, and that was Ryan North, Toronto's own, who wrote that in a BMV book and took a photo of it.
Classic.
And they find him in the ice. They unfreeze him. Don't you like the continuity of like what happened in the last one?
I do like that they respect canon. Yes,
I do. At the end of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, they actually go like, yeah, they just got water took them away, and the villagers are unworried about that. Like, where'd they go? Who cares? The water took them away. They unfreeze them, and then we spend a lot of time with Lon Chaney, Jr., who doesn't want to sit in the chair to transform anymore. So he'll just walk through screen, and then we'll cut to a Wolfman running off into the distance.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, he did it once. Why do it again?
I like this movie well enough. You know, it's 70 minutes long.
I think it moves fast. There's no Frankenstein's monster. He's in the last 3 minutes of the film.
There are not a lot of scares. I think what the movie does reasonably well is play into the pathos of the monsters. I think the monsters are tragic beasts. The Lon Chaney Jr. character and the J. Carrol Naish character, the movie mines sufficient emotional content out of them to keep me engaged. And I enjoy Boris Karloff as the Mad Doctor, kind of hamming it up a little bit. Mm-hmm.
I like the final shot that looks like it comes out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon of Frankenstein's monster and the Mad Doctor sinking into quicksand. They're like, whoa, here we go.
Iconic. And as for Glenn Strange as the monster, he's in 3 movies. In the first 2, House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula, he basically just comes at the end.
Yeah, right at the end.
And he lurches around the lab. And then in Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, he's iconic. That's the one you're thinking of.
That's the one you're thinking of.
And I like him because I think he looks cool.
Well, the thing about Glenn Strange, he became the kind of
iconic
Frankenstein, yeah.
To the point where when Lugosi died, there were a lot of newspapers that had pictures of Glenn Strange as the monster by accident.
Yeah.
Because he looked so much like him. Like, he really does look like the Halloween mask.
Yeah, because he's wider, and I'm sure, like, if you look into it, it's like, oh yeah, the Don Post masks are based on the Glenn Strange design or something like that.
Yeah. Now, the Karloff version...
Iconic, yeah, the Frankenstein's monster.
Lots of layers, etc. Beautiful.
Is there like a George Lazenby's my favorite of like people who say that like Lon Chaney Jr. and Ghost of Frankenstein is their favorite?
I think I would love write in if one of the other ones is your favorite, because I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear.
What are the cases going to make?
What could you say beyond? I think Glenn Strange looks cool.
Yes,
and he does, and that's why he's number 2 with a bullet for me. Now, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
I mean, we're skipping over House of Dracula. The monsters, yeah, it's more.
It's probably my least favorite of them all. Although,
wow, really?
Although, again, you know, seeing the resolution of the Wolfman plot is kind of moving in that film. But Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, increasingly, I think, like, this one should be on everyone's AFI list or Sight and Sound ballot. Like, it's got everything.
All the monsters are all interactive. They don't just show up in the last 5 minutes.
They all get to be really cool and really serious. And it also gives you, I think it delivers the spooks and the shivers better than any of the other sequels after Bride of Frankenstein do, because it's one scene after another of Lou Costello entering a room and seeing a Frankenstein or a Dracula and then going. Do
you think people are listening to this and they haven't seen Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein?
I mean, if you are,
what are you doing?
I'm offended by the thought.
They may think it's too old, right?
Oh,
no.
It moves like a freight train. It's so funny. It's spooky.
There's even a bonus monster at the end of the film.
It's got shivers and frights galore. And when I think of Halloween, I think of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Why do you think they haven't been able to make a movie like that since then? Like, let's talk about the Frankenstein even under the Universal fold, because they haven't made a classic Frankenstein movie in this style since House of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Well, it's interesting that the Frankenstein monster himself remains iconic, but there haven't been really any movies since then.
Yep.
Not Kenneth Branagh, not Aaron Eckhart as I, Frankenstein.
Not Stephen Sommers' Van Helsing.
Frankenstein, the story has never quite caught on. Again, at least in any of these
Well, you know who's making one
interpretations.
right now for Netflix?
Who?
Guillermo del Toro.
Well, I hope he can do it. you know?
But it's not, when we're talking about the Universal Frankenstein, we want flat top, green.
We do, but I also think so. It's an old cliche that like you can tell a lot about society and where it's at by their horror films at that time, and horror films more than any are sort of like where society goes to dream and work through its insecurities and anxieties. Now, when Mary Shelley wrote the book and James Whale made the movie, obviously people were concerned about like technological overreach, and there was a lot happening. People were thinking a lot about matters of religion and like is mankind broaching on
what you want is like a techno Frankenstein, if you will, an AI Frankenstein.
Well, I guess we had one and it was called Megan.
Yeah, that's
a
true.
year or two ago. I think
Our generation's Frankenstein.
I think what I'm saying is
or who could forget, what's that Johnny Depp movie? It's the one where he's like
Mordecai.
No, yeah, the classic Johnny Depp film. No, it was directed by Christopher Nolan, cinematographer.
Oh, Transplendence or something. Yeah. Okay, so I'm obviously not building a very good case about how to make a Frankenstein movie now, but I think somebody could. I think these anxieties are still ambient and always get reinvented for a new generation, and nobody's figured out how to do it with Frankenstein.
What if he was a cool super spy?
Like I, Frankenstein?
Yeah.
He was like a superhero in that, right?
Yeah, and
he fought gargoyles.
Yeah, he fought gargoyles.
Also, like, what was the Dracula? The Dracula.
Dead and Loving It?
Well, of course, Dracula Rising.
Dracula Untold.
Let the games begin.
I watched that, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I went, woo, in my seat. I mean, they tried. We did a whole episode on the Dark Universe.
Yeah, that's right.
And that awful Tom Cruise mummy movie.
Yeah.
So bad.
I guess the right guy or gal has never come along to make the movie, and it's too bad.
We'll be waiting. We should get a new Frankenstein film every year. And we get tired of Frankensteins.
So, do we have any letters this week?
We do have letters. As per usual.
I'm just so spooked and shivered out.
Talking about Frankenstein.
Yeah.
What goes beyond death. Yeah, you can send us letters at importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. And our first letter is from Noah. And they go, "Hello, Justin and Will. I've recently decided to get into more early silent cinema, and I'm finding it overwhelming to find a place to start. Do you have any specific film directors that you think would be a good starting point for someone with very little exposure to silent cinema, or maybe some books that could help provide context for the era? Thanks for continually expanding my cinematic palette, Noah." Well, when you're talking about books about silent cinema, I think, is it The Parade Goes By by Kevin Brownlow?
The Parade's Gone By.
Parade's Gone By.
That's right, by Kevin Brownlow. If you can find that, it's great, and it's very readable. It's like a lot of different essays where he explains it.
Yeah, a lot of like oral histories where he's like talking to someone who's kind of giving him background on silent cinema.
I mean, I don't love Mark Cousins' The Story of Film. But what I would say is the first couple episodes about silent film do give you a pretty good primer about what was happening. So I would recommend those.
I recommend a little filmmaker called F.W. Murnau.
How about Michel Hazanavicius and his movie The Artist?
Check out Faust and Sunrise. And you'll get silent cinema in like maybe that'll spoil the person though. They're like, are there silent films like that? And it's like, no, these are
those are the best of the best of the best. But yeah, like the ones, if you Google best silent films, like I hate to give this advice, but like those are the ones that you should watch because like at least those are the ones you should watch first. Like Wings, Metropolis, Pandora's Box, like they're iconic for a reason.
Oh, I know you made that joke earlier because The Artist comes up as the first one if you search best silent films.
And I would also say, listen, Chaplin, Keaton,
The General,
Harold Lloyd,
like
the big three silent comedians. Actually, those are the ones that I would say if somebody was trying to get into silent film. Watch Buster Keaton's short films. Just start there.
Mm-hmm. It's not too big of a commitment, and you'll
have so much fun.
You'll have so much fun. And then like look at a Guardian list, like best silent films. Do you agree or disagree with these movies, Will? City Lights.
Yes.
Earth.
I don't think I've seen Earth, actually. Oh, wait, no, I have.
We did, because we did an episode on it,
I
didn't
have
we?
seen it, yeah.
Battleship Potemkin.
Yeah,
The General, Metropolis. Yep. The Cabin of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
The Wind. Oh, that's an interesting one to recommend.
I don't know The Wind.
Yeah, it's a drama by Victor Storm.
Oh, yeah, Phantom
Seastorm.
Carriage.
Yeah, that's right. And then The Lodger, the Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
And Sunrise, which I already mentioned, and The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Okay, yeah.
That's a great list.
All bangers. Yeah, truly. Like, look up the ones that people like and just watch those. And then from there, you can explore.
We did get a few letters of people being like, I love it when you do kind of like silent comedians. Do more of those.
Well, we haven't done Keaton yet.
Oh, we haven't done Keaton. That's true. So definitely coming up at some point.
Should do more silent comedians. What if we did an episode on, I don't know, Billy Bevan?
I don't know if I said silent comedian. I said silent film.
Okay.
Which is different. Yeah. Silent comedian, just bring a smile to our face. Now, let's do Frank Borzage and his silent pictures that he did back in the day.
Yeah, I mean...
I'm probably saying that name incorrectly, but yeah, there's a lot that we could explore. Mm-hmm. Next up is a letter from Brandon, and what a title. My dad's Bollywood debut.
Ooh.
Hey, Justin.
Is your dad Shah Rukh Khan by any chance?
Oh, man, let's have him on the show. I have a family story to share that I hope the two of you and the ICC audience can appreciate. In the early 2010s, my dad's office was based in a historic bank in downtown Chicago. One day, he received a notice that a film would be shooting a few scenes in and around the building. That film was, of course, the little-loved Bollywood sequel, Doom 3.
Doom Machale, Doom Machale, Doom. Is it little loved? I saw it in a theater.
I think Doom 3 is not like well regarded, if you will.
Yeah, what I remember about Doom 3 was it was very Nolan-esque.
When the first day of filming came, the production sent a memo to bank staff that they needed extras for an outdoor sequence. My dad initially didn't want to do it, but eventually the rest of the floor staff convinced him to head down with the rest of them. They can be seen briefly standing behind Amir Khan after the character rappels down the building during a bank robbery. My dad said that it took a couple of hours, they made a couple $100, and that Amir Khan had an extremely intense aura. Man,
I do appreciate this story. Yeah.
I would do anything to be in a Bollywood movie. To just be in the background and be like, oh, or to be the villain. We said this before.
I mean, you look at any Bollywood musical number and you can see in the background like random white people that they got to fill out the screen. Let us be one of those random white people. I'll hop on a plane tomorrow. Let's do this.
My dad's favorite movies include Field of Dreams, Lincoln, and basically no other examples. So he's enjoyed making fun of me over the years that he's had more of an actual presence in world cinema than I have.
He's got a point.
You know what? Your dad has been seen by more people than you ever will in your entire life.
I'll tell you what else I remember about Doom 3. Like Chicago, right? That's where it was shot. Because there's one block that you see over and over and over again in that movie. Just all the chase scenes and stuff. You know, I guess they didn't have like Nolan's access to the city. They were like, okay, we can get a block.
One block, yeah. The letter continues, he still hasn't seen himself in the film. Why not? Show him a clip of it.
Yeah. Well, and better yet, watch Doom 2.
Well, because he tried watching the first Doom, but decided the whole endeavor was a bit too much for him. Additionally, about 2 years before the Doom 3 incident, Transformers 3 filmed its climax a block or two away from his office, a stretch of time he's described as some of the loudest, most annoying days of my professional career. Thank you both for the great work, Brandon.
Have we talked about when Suicide Squad was shot in Toronto?
I never saw the set, though, when it filmed here.
I saw it. I actually kind of like kept walking past various Suicide Squad sets. Like during that summer, I mean, I was living right in the downtown core, so you know, you'd be walking in the financial district and there'd be a huge crowd of people and you realized, oh, they're all there to see the Suicide Squad set. And I went out one night on Yonge Street to see the Joker-mobile drive by like 10 times. And then I went home and then I heard later the Batmobile came out and I thought, oh, fuck, I wish I saw that. But I saw Jared Leto's Joker-mobile.
But you didn't, I mean, I once walked by and they were filming The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, that's
cool.
In
New York?
They filmed Pixels on the block where I lived.
They changed all the signs and stuff like that.
And you may be thinking of actually, wait,
no,
The Incredible Hulk.
No, I was in New York walking around on my own, and they were filming Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay, because when they were filming the Ed Norton Incredible Hulk,
they changed the street, the main strip on Yonge to look like downtown.
That's right, like the theater in Harlem was there.
Yeah, and rest in peace, Big Slice, that for the longest time had signs of the Incredible Hulk or like things inside because you could see the Big Slice device in the shot.
So Hollywood comes here too, you know? Mm-hmm. Everyone check out Police Academy 3 because the scene at the end where they're all jet skiing on Lake Ontario, you get to see the old Toronto skyline, and there's the CN Tower, and then there's nothing else.
Is that supposed to be Detroit in that movie?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll explore the entire Police Academy series one day.
Oh my God.
I've only ever seen the first one.
Well, it doesn't get better from there.
Wait, is there more blowjobs that are given like under the podium?
Oh yeah, that's right. Georgina Spelvin.
What a movie. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the letter. As per usual, you can send us letters at importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. This week on our Patreon, it's that time of month again. We're talking about what we've been watching.
That's right. We'll be talking about subjects ranging from Death Proof to Flowers from Shanghai to wolves to a lost Charles Band Full Moon film. So
that he produced.
Lots to talk about there. And then next week, I actually don't know what we're going to do next week.
Oh, I do. I already pitched it to you, and you said, A-okay.
What are we doing?
We're doing The Horrors of William Shatner.
Right. That's right. Sorry. Justin's about to have a child, and
and you're the one who's like, my mind is everywhere.
And I'm not, it's like, I'm not sure. I mean, I have to help deliver the baby. I have to steal the baby. I have to raise the baby at my home. I have to say, Justin, look at my new baby.
So I had to search through and be like, have we done William Shatner? Because it feels like we did. We have not.
We have not, and William Shatner is just an ambient presence in everyone's life, isn't he? Mm-hmm. You know.
But I thought if we do the horror films that he stars in, there's more than enough too. Incubus, the one that he shot in Esperanto. There's Kingdom of the Spiders. That's one of his, right?
That's right.
Yep. And there was another one. What was it?
He's not in Creature from Black Lake, is he?
No, he's not in Creature from Black Lake. He did direct a horror film that I believe he stars in as well. God, William Shatner's letterbox page is just a nightmare. It's very difficult to get through. Called Groom Lake.
Okay.
So maybe
that's what I'm thinking of.
And that is a late period full moon picture that was made in 2002. So a lot to explore there. Oh, no, the other one I was thinking of was the William Grefé movie, where it's like the one where he wears a Fricky Farley shirt and like murders people.
That's right. We should watch that. Yeah. So The Horrors of William Shatner.
Yeah. Do you like William Shatner as an actor?
Yeah, very much so. Okay. I like him a lot as an actor.
All right. Well, I'm excited to dive in, and we get Incubus, him playing a serious role.
And I feel like everybody likes William Shatner as an actor. Like,
not as a person. No one likes William Shatner as a person.
You know what? I kind of like him as a person.
Star Trek cast members are like,
See, fine. You know what I liked? I liked when he went to outer space and he was interviewed after.
That was the best.
That was awesome. Where he was like, I saw to my left life and to my right darkness. Mm-hmm. You know,
and he's like, why do we go to space when beauty is below us?
Yeah, he had a whole existential crisis up there, and I think he's a beautiful soul. Don't tell me anything bad he's done, okay?
You know, when Galaxy Quest came out, all the Star Trek cast members were like, you got it. That's exactly how William Shatner acts. Exactly.
Oh man.
So that's what we'll be doing next week, The Horrors of William Shatner. Until then, my name's Justin Clue.
I'm Will Sloan.
Thanks for listening. As per usual, I'd like to thank some of our new patrons, who include Rainy Day Jules, Daniel Leary, John, American Arts and Culture Review, John Post, Chris Barry Goss, Joey Alvarez, Henry, Daniel Owens, Dr. Spraggles, Aaron, Michael Davis, Felix Dembinski, Nathan Batt, Andrew McIlvaney, Izakiah Bates, Adam, Nick Petrecka, Kyle Gustafson, Felicity Shagwell, Oscar, Brian and James, F each other, Samuel Medina, and Adam Milik. Thank you very much for becoming patrons. We could not keep doing this without you. Well, Will, it was time to do it again. It's time to go through the old physical media collection and get rid of stuff.
Wow, you're doing a big cull, a huge purge. And
Even though Will walked in, he's like, doesn't look like you got rid of anything. I will say, Emily came in and said, it looks like you got rid of like half your Blu-ray collection.
And did you?
Not quite. But I was going through it and I did something that I've been meaning to do forever, which is I have like a metal shelf that I had all my collections lined up. And I was like, I never pull these films off the shelf. It's cool that they're all there, but who cares? I'm not watching these movies.
Well, yeah, the way you had it before and the way that I sometimes have it, like you have them stored in such a way that it's a barrier to access.
Yes. That they were like back in the corner. It was kind of tough to get to my
piles
box set.
And piles, yeah.
But like I had like all of the Vinegar Syndrome archive releases, but I'm like, how often am I going to pull that off the shelf and be like, oh yeah, watch this one? Never. So
Did you throw those out though?
No, I put them away. I'm keeping those.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'll probably watch them again because they have some novelty value, or oh, maybe I want to check this out, or it'll just be difficult to watch them. But I did have a guiding principle this time, which is I would look at the movie, hold it in my hands, and go, am I going to watch this again? Like, this is a question that I feel most people listening to this who collect physical media would completely demolish their collections if that was a guiding principle.
Now, can I ask, you have a big bag over there. Are those all going?
Yes, those are going, I believe.
Okay, because I just want to say, I see the Man from Planet X in there.
That's because I have the Blu-ray set they put out that has Man from Planet X, that has a bunch of other Ulmer films.
Okay, yes, good. Because I saw that and I thought, you're going to watch that again. How can you throw that out?
I mean, I know you may be shocked. You may see Gen X Cops is there, which I believe that one has a Jackie commentary on it.
Can I have it?
Well, I'll look at it. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah. No, wait. Why would there be a Jackie commentary considering he's just the producer on the film?
If there's a Jackie commentary, I love his commentaries. The rare times he does them.
How do you not own Gen X Cops then, Will? Who's the real fan here?
I guess you're right.
I also had in my collection all the Jackie films and the Hong Kong films there. And I had to, like, it was fun that they were all up there.
They look good.
They look good. But at a certain point, I want to maybe expand the experience of perhaps watching these movies than having To Kill with Intrigue on the shelf. Now, did I get rid of To Kill with Intrigue? No, it just goes in a bin downstairs.
I think that's healthy. Now I'm looking at your boxed set shelf, and it's great. I'm looking at all this stuff and just the range of movies. We got Jacques Demy, we got Friday the 13th, we got Halloween, we got Martin Scorsese's World Cinema Project, Shaw Brothers Classics.
1 and 2. Not getting 3. I haven't watched all of these yet.
Directed by Sidney J. Fury. Whole box set. Essential Egoyan. I mean, everything you could possibly want is here.
I mean, the one that I really like that no one else has is the Taiwanese Black Movies box set. That's right there beside the Hellraiser one.
Oh, wow.
That's
I want
impossible
that.
to get. There's 2 volumes. I ordered the second one, and literally the company said, yeah, we don't have it anymore. Like, you can't have it. But they got me the first one. And they look awful. They're all full screen, zoomed in. That's the only version that exists. I feel, though, like, I've gone to my shelf already and been like, oh, I have been meaning to watch these films off this box set. Now, did I have a sicko move when I saw my Universal horrors and I had 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I went, ugh. Maybe 2 still available. Like, I'll check. There's a Joseph H. Lewis movie on 2.
What else is on 2? Anyway, we don't have to.
It doesn't
we
matter,
can talk about this later. No, I mean, 1 is the best.
1, I mean, The Black Cat.
The Raven.
Yep, great stuff on that one. Oh, Murders in the Rue Morgue is on number 1 too.
Oh, such a great film.
And then after they're like, I don't know. We got any other trash people will buy?
So yeah, I think that sounds very healthy.
Now, have you done this, Will? Going through your collection?
Well, I have over the years, but the thing is, I moved into a bigger space.
Yeah, so you can keep all this stuff.
So for the next 5 years, I can continue to, just live unhealthily. And I do have bins. Like, not everything has to be on display.
Put away.
Yeah. Okay. Not everything has to be on display.
Well, I mean, I have bins as well.
But the bins are sorted, though. And so now it's fun because I have a Ray Dennis Steckler bin.
But don't you all have that in your Ray Dennis Steckler box set?
Yes, I do.
So you got okay, now this is an interesting question. You've kept the Joe Bob Briggs, like, Rat Finka Boo Boo one?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
And also, I have a bunch of the DVDs that Ray Dennis Steckler put out himself at his video store.
I mean, that's different.
Right.
Yeah.
And that takes up space. But am I ever going to watch those?
You're never going to watch those.
So they go in the bin.
Okay.
And now I have a Ray Dennis Steckler bin, and that makes me happy. I have a Godfrey Ho bin, so I can look at that and be like, oh boy, instead of just having them everywhere.
Yeah, I was recently at a used bookstore, and I was like, wow, a German Godfrey Ho DVD. And it was so cheap. It was $10 because they didn't know what they got. They're probably like, what the hell is this? I messaged Will being like, I found this one in the wild, Will. I can't believe it. And Will would message me back, yeah, that was mine.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
I ordered 2 by accident, so... And I felt pretty bad about that. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, I did.
Because I should have just given it to you.
Yes, you should. But you know what? I bought it and I went, because I thought you were responding to a different message. I was like, wow. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to keep it unless I have a double, and then I can give it to you, because the Godfrey Ho German Blu-rays all have the German names on them. And
That's
like,
right.
I don't know what this is.
That's right.
So you're not going to go purge your collection anytime soon then?
Not anytime soon, but like I have purged my collection. I have given things away. I have gotten rid of stuff. Like, especially if it's like an old DVD.
Are you careful when you go to like a used place to sell your stuff to be like, this is only the good stuff? Or do you just bring, because I feel very self-conscious to be like, they don't want trash. Like,
no, so do I. When I sell stuff at BMV, it's all, I know what they want.
Yes.
If they hand me something back, I take that. I'm wounded.
Oh, really? Okay.
But not really.
No. You're like, all right, garbage. Here you go.
I do remember back 10 or 15 years ago when I was reviewing DVDs for Exclaim. That was when the DVD was in a golden age.
You could sell anything.
You could sell anything. Yeah. And so I would have these huge crates that I would bring of just like fucking dog shit, like Big Mama's House 3 or stuff like that. They'd buy those. The only one they didn't take, Mean Girls 2.
What?
The direct-to-video sequel. The direct-to-video sequel to Mean Girls back then. So that, never tried to sell that.
How much do you think Mean Girls 2 is worth right now if I wanted to buy it on DVD?
Well, either 1 cent or $100.
$3.69.
Okay, so yeah, nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it.
I bet you guys didn't know there was a Mean Girls 2.
Well, now you do.